The online market is shifting and majority of people are struggling to actually make money online. In today's video, I'm going to show you a private exclusive call that I've hosted inside my private community. It's completely for free. So if you want to join the next master class, don't forget to check the description below. But essentially, I'm breaking down exactly on how I was able to scale my own sales consulting company all the way up to 6 figures and how you can adapt from this changing market online and take advantage of the creator economy, right? I'm not gonna speak any further. I hope you guys found something extremely valuable for this. I'm really excited for this. I'll see you on the other side. Enjoy. Welcome, Renaissance Closer Masterclass. I'm excited for this one. Honestly, this one is one of the most valuable presentation I've made honestly for this community in a while, and I think this took me a good amount of time of revision as well to kind of just put together. But the main thing here, I want to lay down some grounds before we actually start. So before we start, I want to make sure that you have 100% attention. If you guys can turn on your camera if possible, then do it now. And as well, again, this is all for your benefit as well. If you don't give your 100% attention, then it's just going to reflect on the results you're going to get. And the framework and the information I'm going to give you guys here is just not going to even, it's not going to be even useful if you're not going to give your 100% attention, because it wouldn't make any sense, right? And then again, if you guys can also hold questions at the end if possible, and if there's any intermissions in between as well, I'm going to make sure that I answer any questions, or if you guys can just leave them in the chat, and we'll answer them at the end. But we're gonna have a quick 15-20 minute Q&A session at the end as well. And no phones. Please turn off your phone notifications and all that, so we just get the best value out of this. Ultimately, just take notes so you can ask any questions you have at the end of the call as well, and if you don't forget anything. And again, the main goal I have here is to just give you guys as much value, right? And again, the agenda for this presentation is only have 3 goals here. Is to share to you how the market is shifting online in 2024 and how to adapt and not get left behind, right? And how I got a 3K a month rev share sales manager position without sending a cold DM. And I know a couple of you guys are not fully in high ticket sales yet, but I'm going to break down. I'm going to try to elaborate a little bit more in terms of how I got the sales manager and how does that even, why do I need to care essentially on sending cold DMs, right? And the essential model I've used to go from a 10K a month closer to 50K a month sales consultant at peak, right? And I'll show you guys the essential model at the end once you guys stick at the end of this presentation as well. And again, I know there's a couple new faces, or well, I don't see your faces, but your names that just joined in this call. Just a little bit context about me. Who am I? My name is Elijah. I'm 22 years old. I'm based in Vegas, and essentially I've consulted sales team for over 20 coaches, consultant, marketing agencies on sales, and that's doing between 10K a month all the way up to the north of 1 million MRR, right? And again, I know it's kind of funny consulting consultants, but it's kind of like the e-learning space for you. And then train and placed over 200 sales reps in info sales, right? And as a community, we've generated over 10 million in sales in ours, a community. First year, we did roughly around 4 million, and we're creeping in 2 years now. Renaissance Closer, which is my private community, which is the paid one. And then I've also been a sales manager for 3 different sales team, and 2 of them being a 7-figure company, which is the sales manager one I'm going to show to you guys in the second topic we're going to break down, which is in different sectors, which is B2B and B2C. When I say B2B and B2C, you guys know where it's business to business, meaning businesses doing businesses to other businesses, right? And business to consumers, essentially like clients making, let me accept this person. And then B2C is essentially business to consumer. Essentially B2C is like a business providing a service for consumers. So like say Apple is providing iPhones to majorities, right? And I've closed for 6 different offers, and I closed over 1 million in sales. So that's a little bit of context about myself. And now you might be wondering, well, that sounds good and all, but I can't really relate. I'm just working my 9-to-5 job or whatever it may be right now, right? But if I'm being honest, I'm no different than you right now, right? I was just a regular kid. I used to play basketball at high school. I was just grinding it out. I was born and raised by an immigrant family, and we moved from Philippines. At one point, I used to live in a nipa hut, and then I worked in 9 to 5 jobs, from a warehouse job to a 9 to 5 and all that stuff. So this, if you think that you're like that's way too far off, how did he even do it at 22? Like, I'm gonna be honest, it's not as crazy as you think of it. It is. It's just a couple steps and a couple discipline that I want to show to you guys as well. And my goal is to help you guys kind of share the valuable lessons I've learned and all of the frameworks that I've had in this call on how I was able to get to where I'm at now, right? So you might be wondering, why am I sharing this information for free, right? Like, well, why share this information for free? Well, to be honest with you, I only have 3 reasons, right? 3 logical reasons. Number one, 90% of people who's watching this video right now won't take action, if I'm being truthfully honest. And you might be wondering, well, no, that's not going to be me. But here's the reason why 90% of people doesn't really usually take action on the free information they get, right? There is no emotional commitment or skin in the game. This is data backed. Like, majority of the time, and this is coming from experience as well, if you don't have any skin in the game or any emotional commitment of you actually doing the thing, there's a less likelihood of you actually getting results out of it. Why is that? It's just because 2 years, like when my first 2 years trying to get into entrepreneurship, is me watching a bunch of YouTube videos and like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do it, this and that, but not really genuinely taking any action. And to be honest, funnily enough, I invested my very first mentorship, dropped 5K, saved it up when I was straight out of high school. And I was actually still in senior high school at that point. And at that point, I was like, okay, I learned all of this stuff in the mentorship, but the biggest value that I ended up getting was just being in the vicinity of people that doing the thing that I was doing, which is at that point was drop shipping as well, right? And essentially, as you realize, like, well, the information is technically kind of there already. It's just I didn't take any action because you don't have any emotional commitment and you don't have any tribe with it. And if you were to look at historically, people get encouraged by doing a specific action because of the environment that they're in, right? So, for example, why do you go to school? Why do you go to college at the first place? Well, you don't even question it, then why you should do it. It's the majority of the people. It's just that's the normal thing to do. It's normal thing to go get an extracurricular in America, but maybe in a different country, it's not normal for you to have majority of your time spending on sports compared in, like, for example, in Japan, it's more highlighted on education and, bookworm type of framework of like just students, right? And another second reason is, to be honest, again, it's just to provide as much value to build trust. And the reason being of that is there's a lot of bad information out there. And there's this thing called law of affection, meaning, like, you guys can look this up. The more lives that you impact, the more goodwill you build in return, you get that back in return, right? It's just the law of affection. And again, lastly, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. If you like me enough, potentially buy my paid stuff as well. So people buy from people they like. That's the number one principle of sales, right? I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but that's the 3 main reasons why I'm doing this. So how is the market shifting? Let's go to the first topic right now. How is the market shifting and how to adapt? Right. So I want to give you guys a bit of a context, right? There's a couple ineffective tactics that people are using right now, and this regurgitated information out there. Cold DMs, for example, doesn't work anymore. Simply sending Loom videos won't cut it anymore, and 90% of people are stuck at the valley of despair. So you might be wondering, why does it even not work anymore? Well, one of the main reasons of what I'm going to explain at our second topic on how I got into the space and like the main blue ocean that I ended up getting, right? So valley of despair, what does that even mean, and why am I stuck at it? So maybe right now you might have been looking into a bunch of school communities. You join like 20 different school communities, and you're wondering, like, I'm trying to get into this, but you're like, oh, I like content, I like this and that. I want to start trading, I want to start e-commerce and all of these different business opportunities, right? But here's the truth, right? I'm going to tell you guys this graph right now. This is the valley of despair phenomena. So essentially, this is the 5 stages of entrepreneurship. I wonder if you guys have seen this before. I know some of my my guys and gents are here, so you guys have seen these steps before. But for the people that just joined, have you guys seen this graph before? If you guys can give me a 1 or a 2, if not, on the chat. Okay, you guys have seen it. Okay, cool. I guess one haven't seen it. Perfectly fine. Cool. I explain it to you guys right now. I'll give you guys context as well and why it even matters in the first place. So I was kind of like similar situation where my first 2 years I'm trying to get into entrepreneurship or quote unquote dabble into it. I would repeat this first 3 phases consistently, meaning I was doing 5 different things at the same time. I'm going to show you guys what I was doing and how I ended up creating the ascension model that I created for some of my clients. Now, so phase 1 is the informed optimism. Essentially, you're right now, right? You're like, oh, I like drop shipping and trading, marketing agency, or even high ticket sales itself, right? You have a lot of optimism, but after you learn more information about it, it's actually hard. And you start doing the thing and you're not getting any results. You're like, you're not right now. Like, again, this is going back from my mindset when I was working a 9 to 5 job. Usually you're rewarded by every hour you get paid monetarily, right? But in entrepreneurship, you're not paid by hourly. You're paid by the value that you give within the market. Meaning, majority of people are stuck in phase 3 because they keep recycling this and repeating the same phases, and you're not really rewarded until phase 4, meaning when you get the hurdle. It sometimes doesn't, it's completely dependent on each individual on the timeline on how you get from phase 3 to phase 4 to phase 5, right? Majority of the time, what I've noticed from complete zero, complete insane zero, if you have like no information, you generally put your 100% actual commitment to a one thing, there should be no reason for you to get results 6 months. 6 months is like what I've seen. 6 to 8 months is enough. And even some people who are like quote unquote the people who are like actually like insane workers, or just like you have really good mindset going into specific things already, they can get results as little as like 1 to 3 months. It just definitely depends, right? But essentially that's the 5 stages of the valley of despair. Majority of the time you get stuck here and you repeat the cycle because you're like, oh, I tried this. But if you were to look at the numbers, majority of the time you didn't try hard enough, right? So that's the valley of despair. And you might be wondering, okay, why does it not work anymore? And why does those tactics doesn't work anymore? So I want to give you guys a quick context of the current state of the info product space. E-learning, course, online mentorship, whatever you can call it, right? This is the current state right now, right? So especially if you're just coming in new, you've never invested into yourself, you've never pursued any online business opportunities, this is the main framework right now. You find a business opportunity. Next thing you know, there's one mechanism that you learn. So for example, like let's say you learn drop shipping and like let's say there's a specific mechanism that you learn, meaning like one strategy or methodology, which is you, for example, I want look for products in this website and then create content for it. That's like the rinse and repeat. And everybody starts doing it, right? And then everybody starts using the same website. Then what happens then is everybody copies it, right? And essentially it creates a red ocean, meaning red ocean is just shark infested water. There's this book called Blue Ocean Strategy, but essentially compare and contrast red ocean to a blue ocean. And red ocean is when people price cuts everybody, they do the same strategy, and then essentially it's very competitive, right? That's the current state of the info space, and this is the cycle I see a lot of people goes through. And this is the reason why 90% of people who tries to get into the online space fail and have no clue why. So like this, not, you might be wondering like, okay, well, this is kind of like a Debbie Downer, like why am I even getting into this, right? But I want to give you guys like a little bit of context, right? So the growth of the info product industry is rapid. So if you were to look at this two screenshot here, right? So this is one of the websites I ended up seeing, and this is the best I've seen. It was like right now within 2022, the e-learning market size is valued around is $400 billion. There's a lot of money into it, right? And if you do a quick Google search, you can kind of see as well. Global market is 38.7 billion, and then the online learning industry in US is worth around 687 by 2030. right? So there's different numbers. There's really no 100%. To be honest, I feel like these are inaccurate. There's definitely more money to this, but publicly it's like 1 trillion is projected to 2020 2030 of overall market, right? So it just depends as well on different stages. It like no one doesn't really know like the 100% like accuracy of like the market research and all that stuff, but estimatedly it's a couple hundred uh billion right now invalued in 2022. Like let's just say that like even like 400 billion. Let me just say that. But if we were to look at it, right, the growth, the more it grows, especially it's still young to be honest, then the more competition it gets. That's just the nature of things, right? And you can't, it's like the first principles of things. For example, right, 1 + 1 is equals 2. You cannot debate that. And when there's more people doing the thing, then it's just going to get more competitive. But again, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer here, but I want to give a little bit of context on compared to the predecessor of the online education space, right? If you were to look at this, right, in the US education market alone, meaning like college, right, meaning the traditional market, is valued at $1.4 trillion. So compared to online education space, it's still not that big, right? If you were to compare and contrast the US education market of 1.4 trillion of the traditional education industry to the e-learning space right now. If you were to look at it, it's not even 30% there at education market. And if you were to look at, yes, we're growing in competition, but compared to the peers or the predecessor of the US education market, is $1.4 trillion, meaning more people are buying into that ideology of college, getting a degree. And in definition, you just get more competition after getting a degree. I didn't put it here, but if you were to look at online right now and a lot of people who graduates, majority of them are having a hard time getting a job, right? There is now no surprise. Again, just this is a irrefutable law that you have to understand is the more it grows, the more competition it gets. That is the current state that we're heading into, right? So you might be wondering, right? Okay, there's still a good news, right? Because we're getting there. But to be honest, you are still ahead by the majorities by a landslide. A majority of people are still using the same framework because they don't think for themselves. But thankfully, you guys on this call, you guys have enough intellectual to actually challenge the beliefs that was reinforced within you. So in this upcoming months and years, this is what you should expect in the online industry though, right? So increasing competition, saturation of markets, different industry business opportunities, and blind leading the blind, right? But here's the thing, right? What if I tell you there's a way to negate all of this, right? So market saturation, competition becomes irrelevant and come up with your own unique strategy, right? This is honestly what I've used after thousands of dollars spent on courses. And for context, I spent roughly between 30 to 50K on education and just getting mentored by someone in years in the online business opportunity industry. This is the most valuable piece of lesson I've learned, right? You have to create your own principles. This might be like, okay, well, that's kind of simple. Like I don't, or maybe you may be on the other side. It's like, I don't really know how to do that. Like, how do you actually create your own principles, right? So this is what I've used and what I've kind of like formulated as well. So here's a couple of examples, right? This principle I'm about to share to you is the same principles that allowed me to create my own money tree, quote unquote money tree, be in control of my schedule, work around anywhere, and take day offs whenever I want. So this is the 5-step system, right? It's a goal, roadblock, diagnose, strategize, do. Right. So what does this even mean? Like, what does 5-step system mean? Right. So I'm going to break it down. So goal. So you have to start at your goal. What do you want to accomplish? Inherently, if you don't know what you want to accomplish, you're not going to get there. Right. So it's the same thing when you're trying to put in, if you're planning to go to, for example, let's say to the gym and you're new to the area and you try to figure out, okay, cool, I'm going to go outside right now and walk out of the door and figure out where I want to go to the gym. It's probably gonna take you might figure it out, but it's gonna take you years to figure it out, or even like longer expected if you were to just pull up your phone and get a GPS and pull up where do I go to the gym? Where's the closest gym near me? Right? It's the same thing. If you don't have any compass on where you want to go get to, then you it would be extremely difficult if you don't have any compass, right? So you want to have a compass on where you want to get to, and you need to have crystal clear clarity on what your goal is inherently on where you want to get to, right? And next thing is roadblock. You have to understand what are the possible roadblocks that will hinder you on achieving that goal. What is in your way to achieve your goals? You need to lay this ground. Very important. It's extremely important. I know it might sound very simple right now, but I'm gonna give you guys context on how to actually implement this to hit your very first 10K month, right? So diagnose what is the root cause of your problem. So essentially, every roadblock or every problem has its root cause. For example, like let's say you're having a hard, we're gonna go back again to the analogy of having a hard time going to the gym. Then that means you don't have the map because you're new there. That's the main problem you have. So what's the root cause of that? Well, essentially you're new there, but the goal is figure out like what is the root cause. So now you know what's the root cause. Then the next step is to strategize. How do you remove the roadblock in the way? So essentially just go get a phone and download a GPS app and you'll get there, right? And what does your day-to-day look like? Essentially, after you figure all of these 5 steps, what do you do next, right? So this is a simple framework, yet effective way to combat the red ocean, right? So here, I'm going to show you on how you can create your blue ocean using the 5-step system to make your first 10K a month. And obviously, I'm in the high ticket sales space, so I'm going to use that as an example. So goal, what do you want to accomplish? Like let's say make 10K a month commission through high ticket sales. Roadblock, what's in your way to achieve your goals? Can't land an offer because X reasons, fill in the blank. Everybody has different reasons and why they can land. Magically, like if you start listing it out, some people would have like 20 different reasons why they can't land an offer. All of these excuses that you can think of, just list it out, right? And diagnose what is the root cause of your problem. For example, maybe you just have no experience, the industry maybe is infested with competition and you just sound like everybody else, right? Now you have to strategize. How do you remove the roadblock in the way? Creating a blue ocean strategy. And I'm going to show you guys the blue ocean strategies I've used to actually get to 10K months with little to no, like there's still effort involved, but in terms of friction, there's almost no friction in getting there. So what does your day-to-day look like? I will do X daily actions to hit my goal, right? This seems extremely simple, but it's the most effective action steps that I've used where I'm at, right? Again, pro tip is do one step at a time. Don't try to do all of it at once. If you're planning your goals, just plan your goal. Don't try to do it. Like just plan your goals. For example, that day, that hour, that session, just plan your goals. Don't think about like, okay, what are my problems, all these things. Just literally sit down and where do you want to get to and list it all down. And after that, okay, cool. Well, go to the next one. What are some potential problems that I have right now? Environmental. So pro tip is one step at a time. Don't try to do all of it at once, right? So this leads me to the next topic for a master class. This is the same strategy I just given you is literally how I got my 3K a month Rebishare sales manager position without sending a single cold DM, right? Vegas were to look at this DM. Literally, this guy DM'd me. And for people who are like, okay, well, I don't believe you. Here's an actual invoice of me getting the 3,000, right? So again, you will get DMs like this if you get a blue ocean, right? I wonder if you guys can guess this, but how do you think, what is the blue ocean that am I talking about? Like, how did I get DMs from people and I got like a sales manager position? Do you guys have any guesses on the blue ocean strategy that I'm talking about? Meaning like having your own without having to worry about competition. Just put in the chat any guesses. So social media itself, it's the main mechanism, right? But in terms of social media itself, the biggest thing that I learned is after using the Ascension model, I will share to you in a moment. This is what I learned, right? Personal brand is one of the most important thing right now in this day and age, right? And right now, as the market shifts, you need to build your personal brand. And again, for personal brand is the modern day and age resume online, right? So here are some of the uses of personal brand, right? So modern resume, people hire people they like or they partner up with people they like, right? And again, networking assets, for example, you attract people with similar interests, value, which creates your blue ocean, right? Essentially, it's a digital real estate. The longer you build your content portfolio, the more your asset appreciates in value, meaning the more you can create whatever you want, right? I'm going to give you guys some examples and real world examples in a couple of seconds here on how does that even apply and what does that even mean, right? So for example, my personal brand, right? So if you were to look at my Instagram, I have about roughly 2.7K followers. TikTok is roughly around 29.8. Twitter is roughly around 1100. And then YouTube is roughly around 2K. So roughly around 43.7K in all platforms combined, right? And to be honest, compared to my peers, I have an extremely small audience, right? And then again, the leverage I acquired from my brand is, again, creating your own personal money tree, building a six-figure sales consulting business, connected with tons of high-level entrepreneurs, inbound opportunities without sending a single cold DM, and negate the competition and created my own blue ocean, right? Now, here's some of my client examples that use the Renaissance Closer Ascension Blueprint. Okay, so this is to my clients that I work with, right? Both of them don't have that big of an audience. And there's even an outdated interview already, but Jaime is making roughly around between 8 to 10K a month. And Adam is making roughly around 12K a month and more right now, especially now he's go on to build sales teams as well. And also building his own consulting service, mini boutique consulting, sales consulting in online, right? So I'll show you guys exactly the same ascension model that we've used, right? So again, everything has its own time, right? And thankfully, these guys didn't have gone through the same mistake I've gone through, right? I'll show you guys the mistake I'm talking about. Right now, the money making online is the biggest echo chamber of unintentional and terrible advices, right? And I'm gonna give you guys some context as well here. Here are some common takes of your favorite gurus. Right now, drop shipping, right, is the most beginner-friendly online business ever. SMA, all you need is a media buyer and you're on your way on your track to 10K a month. Trading is you just need to get 1 to 2 good positions and you're financially free. TikTok shop, all you need is a product and post content daily. Growth operating is the most scalable business right now. Real estate wholesaling, you just need 1 property a month and you're off to the races. Now, the thing is, while there's some truths to all of this, here's what they're leaving out, right? And this is going back again on that slide that we were talking about, the 5 stages of the valley of despair, right? Majority of people, right, don't understand these on these different business models. The drop shipping, the startup costs, and to be honest, to be frank, there's really no impact on just drop servicing a product from China. And it requires multiple skill sets, creating a landing page, doing conversions, right? Gathering, creating a ICP, meaning your ideal client persona, your branding, all that stuff to really just become profitable here. And SMMA headache clients, they never talk about the refunds. They never talk about like the fulfillment itself and the skill stacking required to actually run a successful marketing agency and trading. To be honest with you, trading is just a glorified borderline gambling addiction going against billion-dollar companies. If you're telling me that you're gonna go against Warren Buffett, that has I think now they just crossed like a $1 trillion in terms of valuation for Berkshire Hathaway. If you think that you're gonna beat those guys, you're extremely delusional, right? And then TikTok shop, marketing skill sets, communication, product research, and all that stuff, right? And growth operating. You have to understand again, marketing, operation, sales. Technically, you're the CEO with high skill required. And real estate wholesaling is cold calling, long sales cycle, and technical industry lingos, right? Again, after being in the online space for over 5 years, I'm going to show you the roadmap I've used. I've practically tried all of these business models and hustles out there. The truth is they all work, but there's a right approach to set you up for success, right? A lot of these things work. That's the thing. I'm not going to tell you here and tell you that, hey, all of these things doesn't work out. Because to be frank, they do work out, but you have to approach them in a right way. Because here's the thing, 90% of people fail, again, not because of the business model, but these factors involved to make these vehicles work. Lack of hyper-specific skills, zero business acumen, wrong timing, incorrect expectations, inefficient strategy, and weak identity, and many more. If you're telling me right now, if you're working a regular job and you want to transition instantly in becoming your own boss and starting a business right now, you're going to fail just like me. I know this from the fact, right? So how did I turn the tides in my favor? How did I go from 10% success rate to practically on any business that I go into now, I know for a fact I'm going to become successful with it. So here's the thing. This is what I did. I'm going to show you guys exactly what I did right now on this past 5 years. And this is a 5 years of mistake that I did. This is what I did. I went from school, working on a 5 job, getting to ecom, and then doing I'm doing this 4 different at the same time. I was still technically at school here, right? I did ecom, marketing agency, real estate, trading, and I was also running a like somewhat of a side hustle on the side as well, meaning like I was doing photography, I was doing a bunch of different stuff. And essentially, I was kind of just spread too thin. I was like wondering why I was not getting any results. So I was like, I decided, you know what? Let me just try a marketing agency. I want to go all in into this, right? I spent thousands of dollars here. It's kind of crazy. Like this is probably the time span of like a year and a half. And then here I decided to just stick with here, right? And then even like try to do consulting with this. And then I had to go back to an 9 to 5 job, just hustling. And a couple months after that, right? 2 years, 2 freaking years, there was no tangible results. I was getting a couple of grand here and there, but I couldn't get to 10K a month. And then I was like, you know what? Like after meeting some of my friends online, and I was like, these guys are no different than me, right? I decided to quit my 9 to 5 job, right? There was a big identity shift that happened to me. And again, that's another thing that a lot of people misses is all of this business model will work out, but if you don't have a high income identity or a entrepreneur identity, you're going to struggle on doing this correctly. And eventually I went all in. I had a mindset shift, went to marketing agency. Within a month, signed my client, and I realized it's not as easy. Running a marketing agency is not as easy. And essentially, that client let me go, and then I got into remote sales. Very first full month, the rest is history. It's kind of like how I got into this entire industry. Got into remote sales, sales manager, right? And essentially, the sales agency consulting. Essentially, now my 2 goals long term is to get into private equity and real estate, right? There's a right way and approach on business. You're not just going to be magically running a 7-figure company. If I were to tell you right now, if I were to ask you right now, if I were to put you into a company that's doing $1 million a month and you become the founder of it, you think you can scale it to 8 figures run rate? Most likely the answer is no. Why is that? Because again, going back here again, there's specific requires and there's specific things that you need to acquire first before you run a successful business, right? Again, going back to this on what I did, right? And after doing this painstakingly ascensions, I finally figured it out. And at the same time as well, this is the same way in how some of my clients, they didn't have to go through the same mistake that I did and had to go through all the pain and aches that I did on spending thousands of dollars on doing all of this stuff, right? After wasting 2 years of avoiding building back the foundation skills, I had to swallow my ego and pride and backtrack to build the right foundations, right? So here's essentially the Renaissance Closer Ascension blueprint, or the quote unquote the Ascension model that I've used for my clients and what I would do if I were to go back, right? Go from 9 to 5 to working 9 to 5, no experience, nothing. Get into remote sales, and then eventually sales manager, sales consultant, and whatever you want. You want to go agency owner route, if you want to become an entrepreneur, meaning like growth operating, whatever it is, and then essentially business owner if you want to launch your own specific products, because these things requires a lot of high skills, like very complicated skills that you will adapt by. I guarantee you're gonna learn more in sales by just shadowing people's success and seeing that the results that they have and how they run their day-to-day operations and the way they operate their leadership skills, how they position their products, the services, the operations. That is where the value is. And the reason why this guy, the clients that I have, where now they easily launch businesses, and I'm like, I'm proud of them, but I'm also like, dang, I wish I would have found about remote sales much more earlier, or just getting into sales and mastering that skill itself, right? And again, you can look at, again, this is going back to fundamental truths, right? If you were to go, all of the successful business owners, they all have one thing in common, right? They're extremely good at persuasion. They know how to communicate, and that's what you learn in the sales, right? That's the number one thing that you have to do, is be able to communicate and articulate the informations and the ideas you have. And that's essentially what it is. But here's the caveat, right? This is what I did not realize that attributed to my success. It's the documentation process. If you guys were to go back to all of my old content, you will see the documentation process that I have, right? Here, I'm gonna show it to you, right? So if you guys were to go back to my old YouTube videos and my TikTok, I've documented everything. And I didn't just learn this magically, like, oh yep, I'm just gonna document it. There's this book that I read earlier on in my journey or dabbling into entrepreneurship. It's called The Entrepreneurship Roller Coaster, and the book The Compound Effect by, I believe his name is Dan Hardy. Those are the two repetitive books that I was also listening when I was working my warehouse job. It's just my literally on repeat, right? And one of the things that he said there is just document everything, because that's when you can essentially delegate to people that you're eventually going to hire for your business. So I documented everything, my journey, and by result of that, I built a audience in return that I was able to monetize, but at the same time as well, to share the journey alongside me, right? And the thing is, if you were to look at some of these views, I didn't really have that much views, 18 views, 5 views. It's not much. For to look at my very, very old, you can go back to my TikTok and you can see it's all the way back at 2021. I have a bunch of videos over there as well. I think during COVID is when I started like really dialing on just documenting and being serious about it. I have like years of examples for this as well. And again, why do you even care, and why should I even document my my story right now, even though I don't have anything or zero experience? I honestly wish I would have documented it much more earlier. You know, having my personal brand made a huge difference. It became my edge and the secret of all the online entrepreneurs out there. Here's some examples, right? Alex Hormozi and Iman Gadzhi. You guys probably have heard him before, but if you were to look at their oldest videos, 6 years ago, right, 8 years ago, they've been documenting their thing, right? You have to look at what they do, not what they say they do, right? Again, look at what they do. For example, they've documented their entire journey from literally zero, right? And another person that I was listening to way back before then was Gary Vee, and he was a big on documentation as well. So that's what kind of inspired me there on like just creating and documenting my journey, right? And I highly recommend you guys, even though you might think I don't have any value in the marketplace right now, the way you can create an edge, your biggest leverage right now and advantage as someone who's having zero experience is your likability and your personality and the interest that you have and your principles that you have, right? That's how you create your own blue ocean, is yourself, because yourself is not replicable. Your story is not replicable, right? The environment that you grew up in, the experience you've had along the way, no one can like say like, okay, what makes you different, right? Those are the things that you cannot replicate, which is your story, which is very unique for each individuals, right? I'm gonna hit this home. Here's in a bigger scale. All of you guys know the Kardashians. They've been documenting their entire family since '07. And by just simply getting eyeballs, right? Fast forward now, May 2024, right? Reportedly, combined, the Kardashians family is roughly around, just Kardashian Jenner, like there's like probably $2 billion valuation, right? It's insane. Like this is the people that we give attention to, and then now they're able to build some brands that a lot of people actually get. So if you were to look, Kim Kardashian built Skims, Kylie Jenner built Kylie Cosmetics, right? And they've literally created a personal brand, and they were able to launch it. And this is the reason why Alex Hormozi launched his own thing, and he started creating his personal brand, just because simply this. And again, we're now in the creator economy, whether you like it or not. This is the edge to separate yourself and create your own blue ocean, right? So again, that's essentially the main blue ocean, and the advantage you will have is by simply creating and documenting the journey that you have along the way, and just putting yourself out there. Essentially, that's how I was able to get those sales manager position and all that stuff. Am I saying that it's hard, or am I saying it's easy? It's not going to be easy, but ultimately that's what you need to do if you generally want to thrive and become successful and separate yourself from the competition within this market right now. All right. But essentially, that's pretty much it from this presentation, right? Now we can go in Q&A and help you guys out on some of your questions and all that stuff. Any key takeaways you guys find is valuable, drop a 1 and all that stuff as well. Yes, Gustav, this is live, bro. Yes, Michael, they did DM me because I have my name, I just have my name out there. Harun, sales agency. Essentially sales agencies if you manage industry, like for example, business owners, sales teams, right? Or you're like a fractional sales consultant for them. Ultimately, that's what it means. Any questions or anything? Are you guys good? Are you guys at? So what are the best ways to land offers? So in terms of for landing an offer, right? If you guys were to watch my videos, or again, going back at the 5-step system that I given you, land an offer, right? Right now, your main goal is to put yourself into a position in between the offer creators, meaning the business owners, and then just getting in between the attention and just getting eyeballs from you, but not just by simply sending a cold DM, but you need to go deeper on like the first principles of like, okay, why do people hire? Again, going back to the principles, right? Why do people hire and why do people partner up with people? It's essentially by like your interests and just being likable and knowing for a fact that you have a work ethic. That's your main leverage point right now in your advantage when you have zero experience. Obviously, you'll have to work way much more compared to someone who has more experience now to you. But that's exactly what I'm saying, why you have to document your journey. The longer you do it, the more you appreciate and value, the more people will know about you. So there's no like one size fits also what's the most effective way to land offers. If I were to pinpoint one, right, it just completely depends. I don't know who you are in terms of like your personal experience, your personal story, but I guarantee you there's something along the ways that relates to you, that from someone who has a successful business right now, that you can leverage when you're reaching out to people, or essentially when you're creating content as well. That's how you can put your name out there, right? If you start posting even mock calls, if you start like doing your trainings and you document the entire journey, right? There's this one guy that I stumbled across with as well. He's from Philippines, and then he was just documenting his journey on like creating his his audience and kind of just like documenting his life and where he lives and stuff. And he started getting like interest from brand deals and all that stuff by just simply having that as well, right? The principle I gave you guys today, if you guys, again, the 5-step system I gave you guys, from figuring out the goal, diagnosing the roadblock, right? And then the diagnosis, and then the strategy, and then the action itself. That's the most important thing. That's a good question. What do you think is the right time to switch from SDR setter into a closing position? So in terms of transitioning to SDR setter into a closing, there's a couple of criteria I personally look for. Number one, are you comfortable on like the dials? Meaning like, are you comfortable speaking with the prospects on the get-go, like not on the messages? And once you become comfortable there, are you the best closer or the best setter within the industry? And essentially, it's just like you being able to have undeniable proof and confidence that I'm the best at setting. And if I were able to be the best at setting and SDR, like why would I not become best at closer? And usually this is the best part about the industry right now as well. You're usually going to be working directly within the business owner or the coaches or the consultant. So if they see your work ethic and then they see that, okay, well, look, I don't see any reason for this person not succeed in closing, they'll give you a shot. Even if you asking them, hey, give me some of your bad leads, give me some of the cancel calls that you have. I'll take those calls. I'll try to close them, get those repetition in. And essentially that's how you'll know when to transition from SDR to closing. It's just having an undeniable proof that you can actually close deals, right? If you have more conviction within yourself, more conviction that you get results in appointment setting and in phone setting as well, then more people will be more inclined to get you to closing, right? And again, having supplementing this with a personal brand and documentation. This one of my best sellers that I work with, the thing that he did extremely well with is documenting his journey, and that's what allowed him to get so many offers on the door by simply putting his name out there, right? So the most important thing is to build a personal brand, correct? Yes. So building a personal brand, and then again, just mastering a skill set first before you go out there and trying to start a business when you don't have any business acumen or any high income skills first. Once you master that, get your connection right, this is practically going to reduce your risk or any friction when you actually officially launch your own business, because you understand ultimately the principles on what it takes to run a successful business. Again, these principles as well, I've used this and I've taken models from people who are extremely more successful than me. And if you guys were to look at the models some of my clients used, like they've practically cut like 70% of the time of me getting where I'm at to where they're at now, right? Again, work ethic is so involved, but that's essentially like the main thing with getting you better results is just by that essential model, doing it the right way, and obviously taking for granted that you guys are going to work extremely hard for this as well. Good. Any questions? Any concerns? Okay, well, if there's no more questions, we'll wrap it up then, and appreciate you guys for hopping on this call. And again, I'll do this occasionally as well in the free community. I'll keep posting more resources as well for you guys. But again, that's ultimately the call, the masterclass. If you guys found something valuable though. Okay. All right. I'll see you guys. So that's pretty much it for today's video. Hope you guys found this value, this masterclass. And again, if you guys want to see more stuff like this, and if you guys see something valuable like this as well, don't forget to like and actually leave a comment so I know that you actually enjoy content like this. And as always, I will always leave you guys with the same thing. Be a creator, not a consumer. Create something today that will inspire you and others. Peace out.